Well, boy, are you staying busy? 1801, 1917, 1705, 1931, 1907, 1930, 1910, 2112, 2155, 2117, and who are you? 2005. Well, buddy, looks like you've pretty well covered them all. That's good. That is good. Be time to change your crayon here in a few days. See if you need to cycle through any more of them. Yeah. No, I ain't gonna rub you on the head. Looks like you've been busy. You lost a little weight. Well, it looks like he's taking care of his work. I guess I better take care of mine. I'm gonna move some fence and put them on a new section of grass here. We've finally gotten some rain. The weather's cooled off a little bit. These fescues and cool season grasses are starting to grow a little bit again. So I'm gonna take down what I've been using as some of the back fence and move it over and give them another section. I know I've only got so much time on this field before the weather gets cold enough that the water freezes up and I can't keep water over here for them. And that's kind of the limiting factor in the fall of how long I can graze this pasture. I've thought about putting a little nitrogen on it and try to perk it up even more, but I'm debating whether that's just a waste of money from the perspective of not being able to keep them over here because of water. So let's get the fence moved, and we've got a week or two to make that final decision. Here, sheep. First order of business, let's kill this fence before I start rolling it up. Let's go down to the other end, unhook the fence, get this wound up. I'm gonna reuse that fence and post to set up the new fence. Well, that's how long it takes to roll up 636 feet of fence. I'm going to play that video in actual time. And if you're curious about how I do that, what I use, why I use the fence and the reels and things that I do, I'm gonna try to link another video. I'll try to do it up here if I can figure out how to do that. And if not, I'll link it down below to a video of kind of how I went through my evolution of finding what wire and electric fence system works for me. So check out that video and see why I use what I use and why I don't use some of the other things that were recommended to me to use. Now, some of you are probably wondering why I run such long, narrow paddocks. And there's really a pretty simple explanation for that. It's because of the layout of this field. It's much deeper than it is wide. So I don't want to give them a lot of width because it just gives them too much grass at one time. But on the other hand, if I cut it crossways, there's no shade. There are trees in the back of this, so they have shade. So if I cut it long and narrow, they've always got access to shade. It does make them walk a little more if they will. Sometimes they don't want to. Here, I'll let you look at sheep instead of me. Sometimes they don't like to walk quite that far, but it's about, I think it's 630 feet in the longest distance. The water is about in the middle of it, so that works out pretty good. They don't have to walk more than about 300 or 400 feet to water, which I think, personally, I think that's about the maximum you would want your sheep walking. I just don't think the sheep want to walk much further than that if they don't have to. Well, this is actually a couple of days after the rest of the video that you've seen and what you're going to see probably past this. But I realized when I was putting this video together, I videoed what I was doing, but I did not do a very good job of explaining why I was doing it. Getting out here cutting this grass in the fall when it's really should just be picking up and growing a little better may not make a lot of sense, but it's part of my never-ending battle with nimblewill. I'm probably going to make some changes to that next year, and you can stay tuned and see how that turns out. But in case you're wondering, the nimblewill, let's turn around here. The nimblewill in the fall, this is it right here. It's growing up. It's a perennial grass, so it comes back every year. The sheep just will not eat it. And as you can see, this is going to seed in the summertime. I don't know if that's going to show. It looks more like this during the summer when it's growing, a little bit like a Bermuda grass. This now this part out here in this field, I did not get this mowed, so it is going to seed. My goal in the other part is to cut that off before the seed matures at least, so maybe it won't be quite so heavy coming back next year. Maybe it won't spread quite as much, but that's the goal. That's why I'm gonna stick this part of the video probably right in the middle of the rest of it and let you know why I'm mowing off this pasture. But what I'm really mowing is stuff that they won't eat anyway. I'm trying to keep it from going to seed. At the end of summer and things start to cool off, the nimblewill, it just pretty much quits growing, goes to seed and goes dormant. Whereas in September, October, on up into November maybe, the fescues and cool season grasses are just starting to make a comeback. So they're starting to grow and they will overtake the nimblewill. So that's why I'm cutting off you got to cut off the fescue too. But I'm not mowing it real short. I'm just trying to get rid of most of that seed head well, it's just another part of the battle of trying to get rid of this darn nimblewill. You can see this spot right here, it is nothing but nimblewill. The stuff that's turning brown. Now we have had a frost, so you can see the hogweeds. The frost has killed those. The nimblewill is going dormant and dying back, but they won't eat it. The green stuff out there is the fescue. This field is not real bad with the nimblewill, but it does have a fair amount in there, and I need to get ahead of it if I possibly can. If I had realized what the nimblewill was going to do, what it was going to be like, I certainly would have made more of an effort to get rid of it as it was just showing up and starting to spread. I don't really like using sprays, herbicides if I don't have to. Sometimes that's kind of your only option. So right now I'm still trying to battle this stuff without just hitting it all with Roundup and killing it out. Now I'll come over here and I'll show you the field that I did mow, and you will see there's still a lot of nimblewill here. Right here, it's nimblewill, but it doesn't have the seed head on it. Now that stuff, as you can see how that spreads, that stuff just takes over. Maybe that's a option. Then you get the grandkids out here and just pull it up. I don't think that's gonna happen. This field has a lot of nimblewill in it, but by cutting off the seed heads, I at least feel like I'm making some sort of progress in stopping it from taking over quite as bad. How are you boys doing? But I think next year I'm going to take a little more aggressive approach on this nimblewill and try to knock this stuff out and get it under control. My experiment with the pearl millet, I think I would consider it mostly a success. So I got my bush hogging done, and now I think I'm going to try to start working up this ground. This is the ground where I had the millet for the summer. As you can see, it's played out. So I'm gonna work it up and sow some annual ryegrass in it. But if you have seen one of my previous videos when I was working on this ground, you know what I got to do first. Put the hose away. Well, the ground is worked up pretty good, probably 3 or 4 inches deep. It's in real good shape. So I've got the ground worked up pretty good. It's pretty powdery really with that tiller. And since I'm sowing annual ryegrass, it doesn't need to be very deep. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to broadcast it on here, and then I'm going to pack it in. I'm not really going to till it back in, or I'm not even going to run a drag over it to drag it in, because I think that would still bury it kind of deep, as powdery as this ground is. And this is not a very big spot. I don't have a cultipacker, so I'm just going to run the tractor back and forth over it a few times and use the tractor itself to pack that in. I've done that before and it actually works pretty good. So let's get the seed broadcast out here, and then let's pack it in. Well, that job is done. Let's just hope we get enough rain now to get this to germinate and grow. This should have been done about 3 weeks ago probably, but to be honest, it was just so dry. I didn't think there was much chance of it germinating, and I was afraid we'd get just enough rain or something to make it germinate and not enough to get it going and get it to grow, and it would just germinate and then die. But it's gotten late enough in the year now, it's kind of either do it or don't. This should have been done, like I said, about 3 weeks ago. Going over it with the tractor like that, I wish the ground was a little bit more damp. I wish it had a little more moisture in it. I think it would have packed a little better, but it didn't do bad. The main thing I'm after is to get good seed to soil contact, and I think that's got the seed down in there. Now if we can get a little bit of rain on it, I think this stuff will come up and be okay, because this ryegrass really doesn't take much. It'll germinate pretty easy. So I got my millet out too late. Now I'm getting my ryegrass out late, but I guess better late than never, right? Now, part of the other strategy against battling this nimblewill, if you've watched my videos, it was with the pearl millet. I'm going to pretty much consider that a success. Wasn't a total success. The pearl millet did a really good job of choking out the nimblewill. There's some patches there where there was still some nimblewill came up in the millet, but it wasn't terrible. The patches where the nimblewill did come up is mostly due to not having quite as good a stand of the millet. Where the millet was good and thick, there wasn't anything came up under that. So a couple of years of that might do a good job of taking care of some of this nimblewill. So I guess that's going to wrap it up for this video. I know it might be a little bit cut up because I've gone back and inserted some commentary, I guess. But I just felt like I didn't do a very good job explaining what I was doing when I videoed what I was doing, but maybe didn't do a great job explaining why I was doing it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. Maybe you got something out of it. Hit the subscribe button and the like button and the share and all that stuff everybody else asks you to do. I appreciate it. And we'll see you on the next video.